Okay, we're live now, Chairman.
Okay, thanks very much, Lynn. Could I ask you then, as Dot has asked, if you could just run through all the people that are actually here?
I can, yes. We've got councillors Clegg, Corbyn Price, Victoria Fletcher, Margaret Foxley, Paul Foxley, Dorothy Lord, Alice Mann, Nathan McCollum, Jonathan Nixon, and yourself, the Chairman, Graham Waugh. We also have Ailsa Gill from the police, and we have speakers Peter Cunningham, Deanna Wilson, and Anissa McGladdery.
Okay, thanks very much. So, right then, Dot. So, my name's Graham Waugh. I'm chairman of this committee. Welcome to everybody, and thank you for attending. Normally, this meeting would have been held in April, but it's still the back end of March. But it really is April's meeting, if you can get your head around that. And it's the reason for it being a little bit early is due to the timing of the elections and when we have to go into further prior to campaigning and all the rest of it that goes with that. So that's the reason. Thank you very much. So, councillors, first off, before we start, I'd just like to let you know, at the last full council, it was announced and everybody had some very nice things to say about the death of Tony Greaves, a long-standing councillor and member of this committee. I don't think it's appropriate to go through all that again. I think everybody had a chance to say what they needed to say last time. But I would just simply say to you that I've asked Lynn to draft a letter to his family, thanking him for his work, his time, and our condolences go with them from this committee, from every one of you, because he was one of us and he did spend all his working time in our area in Colne. So that's where we are with that. With your permission, I'll move on to the declarations of interest. Anybody declarations of interest? Sarah Coburn-Price.
Yes, I have item 12.
Item 12, thank you. Okay, any apologies we know of?
No apologies, Chairman.
Oh, I think that looks good.
Chairman, I've got apologies from the Colne Town Council representative, Mary Thomas.
Okay.
Chair?
Yeah.
Neil Butterworth was working in Liverpool tarmac. He might be late, but if he doesn't arrive, can he record his apologies, please?
Yep, that's understood. Thanks very much. I have no notice of questions from members of the public. Is that correct, Lynn? Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting. Would somebody like to propose, please? Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thank God.
Right.
Okay.
I'll second.
Unless I hear to the contrary, I will assume that everybody is in favour of those minutes. Please speak if you disagree with that statement. Okay, so that's then passed. Next item up is the progress report. Does anybody have any queries or comments they wish to make? Nothing? So next up then I have Elisa Gill.
Good evening, it's Ailsa.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
That's all right.
Have the floor.
Thank you. I have in front of me the crime figures for the last month. We've had a reduction in residential burglaries. Commercial burglaries have stayed the same. Vehicle crime's gone up 1. Hate crime's gone up 1. And assaults have gone up by 8. I've looked into that, and quite a few of them are youth related, and also the usual domestic related as well. We've got thefts up by 3 and criminal damage up by 11 overall. I've not had the opportunity to look into that, unfortunately, to be able to explain why that is. However, all crime is down by 8, and antisocial behaviour is up by 83. On that note, and as some of you are already aware, we've had an operation on over this last weekend targeting the complaints that we've had for some time now about the youth throwing stones, snowballs, eggs, etc., passing vehicles, houses, the general antisocial behaviour from them, and bad language, etc. I'll keep it brief. Over the course of the weekend, a four-day period over the weekend, we've had extra resources come in. The neighbourhood team has changed shifts in order to facilitate it. We've had special constables come in, and over the weekend we've given out, we've spoken to in excess of 50 youths, majority of whom have been quite pleasant to speak to. A minority who decided to hurl abuse at us. We've only had one incident of egg throwing, and that was on the Friday night. Nothing since then. But we've had a good run round the town this weekend, quite literally, and we've given out 23 COVID-related tickets for breaches of COVID, because they were prior to the restrictions changing. So we managed to get that in while they were still out in groups. So there's been a Facebook post go out about that, if anybody's not seen it. And aside from that, our priorities for the month for the areas will continue to be antisocial behaviour, obviously with the nights getting a little bit lighter now. Speeding cars in various places. And in Airby and Bonolswick, sorry. Yeah, no, you don't want to know that. Yeah, so that's about it from me. If anybody's got any questions.
Thank you very much for that, councillors. Nobody?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Dorothy?
Just in case anybody, members of the public are listening to this, the reason we've not asked any questions is because we've just been in a meeting prior to this where we've asked all the questions. So it's not that any of us are not interested in what she said.
Oh, absolutely not. That's we forget the people as being in the know, that those that aren't in, it's got a completely different complexion to it if you're looking from outside. So if nobody else has got anything else, I'd just like to thank you for attending as always. It's always a pleasure to see you. The more we see of you, the happier we are, really, basically. Because there are always issues we wish to raise, and if we can do it face to face, or this as what passes for face to face, is absolutely fine by us. So anything we can do to help you, good. Okay, thank you very much for that. So moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on then, so we have planning application 0917. I'd just like to give you a heads up. So this has been referred now for at least 2 meetings, if not 3, I've lost count, because we're still waiting for the Environment Agency to come back. Now, after a long discussion with Mr. Watson, he's of the view that the Environment Agency aren't really going to materially change this application one way or the other, and he would like us to delegate grant consent to him to either refuse it or approve it. And the reason he suggests that is a matter of fairness, really, for the developer, who needs to know where he stands with this. Are we wanting this developed or are we not? So that's our point to you, councillors. So from the chair, I would propose that we discuss it. Somebody propose a motion for or against, and we leave it with Mr. Watson to sort out after that. Councillor Lord.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Is Mr. Watson available to give us any further advice on this?
I am, Chairman.
Right. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you for that. The reason for the why I support the chairman and the recommendation, the scheme is not affected by the Environment Agency's comments unless the Environment Agency say the scheme is unacceptable. They want more information. Effectively, what the Environment Agency are doing are saying whether they validate the flood risk assessment from the developer. If they don't, then I would expect the application to come back to committee. But if they do, the scheme isn't going to change. It's not going to change in any material sense. You know, it's not going to change design, height, scope, impact. So, Chairman, the material planning issues before you, unless you want to go into the nth degree of the technicalities of the flood risk assessment, the scheme is before you for you as a committee to say whether you accept it or you don't accept it. And Chairman, we have to be fair to a developer as well as as well as objectors. And the only matter really outstanding on this is whether the flood risk information is validated. So the caveat I'm saying is, if it is validated, which I expect it to be, if I'm absolutely honest, then the scheme won't change. It doesn't stop this committee from making a decision for or against it, clearly, on the merits of the case. But I'm not hearing any comments about the technicalities of the Environment Agency or the flood risk. So, Chairman, I think you are, as a committee, in a position to debate and come to a conclusion on design, layout, landscaping, traffic impacts, principle of development, etc., etc. Chairman, if we kick this into long grass and the developer comes back, the EA come back tomorrow and say everything's hunky-dory with the technical information, and it is very much a technical issue about whether they've got the calculations right about heights of flood risk walls and flood zone areas. If they come back and say that, then there's another delay for 2.5 months. And so I actually think that's unfair on a developer to wait for just a nod or not from the Environment Agency when all the other matters can, I think, quite adequately be debated. And I'm not saying which way you come to your conclusions, but I don't think there's anything to prevent that being debated with the caveat of, if the EA come back and say that it's okay, then the scheme is decided on that basis. If they don't, then we will bring it back to you for another decision or whatever composition this committee has next time. That's the thinking behind it, Chairman.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So we understand there's a caveat there that this is all dependent on the fact that the EA don't throw a spanner in the works and accept the work that's been done by the developer. So then it's a matter then for you as councillors to come to a view on what you think of this application, basically. Councillor Mann.
I've got quite a number. Hello. I've got quite a number of issues on this one, mainly to do with access. Bridge Street junction is just really not suitable, and even the company wanted to have the Knots Lane junction. However, the way to get to Knots Lane is just awful, absolutely impossible, and that's what the planning advice was on that with the transport issue. So Bridge Street, I don't think is a goer on the access onto the main road. And I'd like to speak to somebody in highways, perhaps have a site visit there to see why they think that is the best alternative route onto the motorway. So I'd like to propose that. There's other things I'm not happy about, like the landscaping. I think that we need to have more details on that, and it needs to come back to the committee. The site will be overlooked. it's down in the valley, and so we will be able to see the site. And of course, I'm not happy about the actual building being demolished, but don't think we've got any planning ideas on that one, really. So it's mainly access using Bridge Street is the issue for me.
Okay. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think we've got much to do on this really now. If there were concerns from other councillors of this development, they should have been raised the first time it came to committee, probably 3 or 4 months ago, really, and they haven't been discussed since then. Landscaping was mentioned previously. That can be designed and signed off by the planning department at Pendle. The recommendation is delegate grant consent. Fair enough. We wanted residential development down there. It's been proven to be not viable by all and sundry. There's issues with flooding. I think we should go with delegate grant consent. So I'd move that, Chairman. Because I think we've kicked the can down the road far enough. I mean, how many times do we have to go before the developer says, right, stuff it, I'll take an employment opportunity elsewhere?
So your proposal is to pass this grant consent, Neil Watson, assuming that there's no issues with the EA report. So
correct. We've heard what our professional in the planning department has had to say. We should take his advice, wait for and allow him to delegate grant consent upon approval of the Environment Agency.
Before I call in anybody else, would anybody like to second that proposal?
I'll second for Jonathan.
Okay, so we have a proposer and a seconder. Anybody else wish to speak, say anything else before we put that to a vote? Yeah, Doc, Councillor Lord.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have to say this, but I think really, although Councillor Mann has quite a few concerns there, I don't think that we can dilly-dally with this much longer, and I think, you know, I would go along with what Jonathan said, really. Okay. Unless anybody else has anything else to add to it.
All I could add from, you know, discussions we've had with various other applications, the landscaping, and I'll get Mr. Watson to come back in. I mean, that's usually conditioned into the developer, and it will be one of Neil Watson's team or himself that will approve the plan for that to meet the requirements that we have. So it's not as if the developer can just put down a couple of little dwarf trees and he's done. You know, there are other issues. Would you like to say any more about that at the time, Mr. Watson, or do you want to leave it for the time being?
Well, Chairman, there is a landscaping scheme proposed, but also Condition 14 requires a more detailed landscape proposal to come forward. But I would say it's horses for courses. It is in a commercial area. Yes, it can be seen, but it is a commercial area on a commercial site, and the landscaping scheme would be designed around that concept accordingly. It's not in a conservation area or next to listed buildings, so it will be an appropriate scheme for a development of that nature. So just going back on one thing on the access arrangements, we've got to remember this is replacing a large-scale industrial site here, so you have to have regard to the if you will, the fallback position on this, which will be a more substantial development, which had quite significantly higher highway impacts. We're talking about a small number of units here, and the traffic flows from that are quite significantly lower than the lawful position. So, Chairman, I do accept the highways aren't ideal there, but you have to remember what the sites could be used for in terms of what it has historically been used for, and that's significantly higher volumes of traffic.
So I've got Councillor Clegg and Councillor Coburn-Price wishing to speak. Councillor Clegg.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Unfortunately, I don't particularly like this application, but I feel that we have probably got to the end of the road with it, because it's already been deferred twice. I think it would be very dangerous at this stage to defer it for a totally different reason, which would be the highways effects on it, because there is no reason why we couldn't have had the meeting about the highways issues at the same time we've been waiting for the Environment Agency. That would have made sense. So I think to defer it twice for the Environment Agency report, and then all of a sudden to throw another spanner in the works and defer it again for a totally different reason, I think we would be asking for trouble and stretching our luck. Also, going to be 3 area committees or 4 area committees. So the next area committee isn't until June. And I think if we don't delegate grant consent, we could be in a very serious danger of being taken for non-determination if we don't delegate grant consent to Neil now. And unfortunately, I'll go along with delegate grant consent, because I don't think we've got another option at this stage. I think we're at end of road. Thank you, Chairman.
Yep. Thanks very much for that, Councillor. So I've got Councillor Coburn-Price, and then I will put the proposition to the vote, I think.
Just to note that none of us are keen on it. We're all very sad faces all around, looking like, oh, we would have wanted something else. It reminds me really closely of the application for the nursery at the top of Trawden on that problematic junction. If you remember, that went on and on and on. And the thing was, if that hadn't already had a designation, it wouldn't have been granted. I'm confident of that. And that is the same with this one. You wouldn't plan loads of HGVs going this way, assuming there was no designation on this piece of land. You wouldn't go, oh, this is prime, this is ideal, because it isn't. But the fact is that designation already exists and we can't take it away. So no matter how we feel, we have to live with it.
Councillor Coburn-Price, sorry to interrupt you. Could you all just check your microphones are off? There's all sorts of weird and strange noises going on. I thought somebody was having a heart attack while they were having their appendix removed. It was horrible noise. Okay, sorry, Councillor Coburn-Price. I stopped you.
I'd finished if I was making sense and you could hear me.
No, I could over the back. So I've got one more Councillor Foxley to speak, and then we'll put that to the vote, if that's okay, councillors. Councillor Foxley.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I agree with what Councillor Coburn-Price has just said. I'm not keen on this. I think in the scheme of things, it'd be great if we could have housing on that site. It's not going to happen because I absolutely accept what Neil Watson said, that the site, could indeed have a much heavier industrial use on it or commercial use because of its previous history. And I just wanted to comment on what Councillor Nixon had said. The access issue was actually discussed at some length. Both myself and Councillor Greaves, as I recall, for two, waxed fairly lyrical on that issue, and we were advised way back at that time by Neil Watson that this wasn't really an issue that we could uphold at an appeal because of the site's history. So, and landscaping was also another issue that was raised then. So I just, sadly, I think our hands are tied, and yeah, I think we have no other option.
Okay, as you say, how many times have we said that we're passing things, but we're not 100% happy? Perhaps we set set the ball too high. Perhaps we should be happy with 50%. But anyway, so the proposition is to delegate grant of consent to Neil Watson to approve this application, providing there's no issues with the Environment Agency. So I will assume everybody is in favour unless I hear to the contrary.
I'm not in favour.
Okay, so are you against the proposal or are you abstaining?
Against.
Against, yeah. Anybody else? So that is then passed with one councillor voting against. Is that okay, Lynn?
Yes, Chairman, that's okay.
Okay. Thanks very much for that, councillors. So planning appeals, anybody have any comments or questions? No. Enforcement actions, item 7. No. Okay, moving on then. So we have confirmation of a TPO 2121, number 1, Oakfield, Skipton Old Road. I have Mr. Peter Cunningham to speak. Mr. Cunningham, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, councillors. Can I just point out that I've got a really good relationship with Lee Johnson, the conservation officer, tree officer, and also Neil Watson. So I just want to say that before I start. And I'd like to point out a couple of points of fact. That I took over this piece of land in about June 2018, and it literally had been left. Lee came up to the site to meet with me, and we had a look around the site. Unfortunately, quite a number of the trees, in fact, nearly every single one of them, had a problem with them. And I was advised to apply to take quite a number of them out. And then on the 17th of August 2018, I met with Lee to discuss the horse chestnut as well, and to make sure that the crowning of that, crown lifting of that horse chestnut tree was done by a local member of the Arboriculturist Society, and I did that. However, what I'd like to point out to councillors, and you probably know this, being conservationists yourself, is that if you ever look at a tree, when you look at the canopy of a tree, when you look at the canopy and turn it upside down, that's the root system that you also see. And on Skipton Old Road, we've got some magnificent trees. It's a wonderful area. We've also got some good stone walls, and that road that we've got goes back, obviously, to a pack horse road as well. The road has been cut out of quite high banks, and this tree is a self-seeded horse chestnut. It is a nice tree. However, the roots of that tree not only are at the side of that wall, they've actually integrated completely into the wall. And that renders that wall potentially in a dangerous state. That's why I've come to the meeting to say to the committee that under the guidelines that the government have put out, it's that where there's a danger to the public or to buildings or structures, that it's not appropriate to put a TPO on it. I did contact the chair, as he knows, and asked him if he'd visit.
Mr. Cunningham.
Sorry, Chair.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. I did contact the chair and ask him if he would come and have a look at it. And what I'm saying to the committee is that Lancashire County Council are removing all of the trees against that wall. And what they're saying is that there will be further investigation of the wall in that particular area. However, over the last 3 weeks, that wall has got considerably worse, and the gully, the wall is heaving over a foot over the gully that's at the edge of that road, and it doesn't have a pavement.
Okay, Mr. Cunningham, you're way over time, but that's fine.
Sorry,
okay.
Chair. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah. That's thank you for attending. Okay, Councillor, so I just remind you the recommendations on the report. They're asking for our approval of the confirmation of the tree preservation order and to delegate responsibility to the or the revoke of the tree preservation order to the Economic and Development Service. Does anyone wish to speak on that? Councillor Price.
Is Lee here?
Oh.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
Lee is
from
here, yes.
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Good evening, councillors. Essentially, we don't agree with Mr. Cunningham that the tree is doing damage to the wall. I've met with LCC highways officers from the bridges section, and we've had a look at the wall together. The section of the wall in front of the horse chestnut tree is probably the best section of that wall at this current step. At this current time, yes, the roots may be in the wall, but we wouldn't know that until the wall was dismantled for repair, which LCC are happy that it doesn't need that at this stage. So we're quite happy that the tree is suitable for TPR, and all the rest of the information is within my report.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. So, anybody wish to speak? If not, I'll propose that we approve the recommendations as in the report.
I'll second that.
Yeah. All those in favour? Anybody against? Please let me know. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, so that's everybody. So that's the recommendations as written out. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham, for attending.
Thank you, Chair.
Next up then is the TPO on Cotton Tree on 75187. I have Dean Wilson to speak.
Hi, it's Dina.
Oh, Dina, so I'm not doing very well tonight, am I? Christian, my apologies.
No, it's fine. It's okay. So I'm not exactly sure what you've already heard, or if I'll be repeating anything. So do you just want me to give a bit of a background about the tree?
Yeah, you can say basically whatever you want to tell us. It's just okay. We've read the report. That's it. Nobody else has spoken on this subject so far. So.
Okay, so the issue, I mean, so basically this is a huge tree that we're talking about. So it's over 50 foot. It's a silver birch tree, and it's probably about 12 foot from our back garden. So when we get quite a lot of complaints from the neighbours, they tend to come to us because they've always thought that it's our tree. So I think one really important thing that we need to establish is we've got this notification of the tree preservation order, but we've never been shown any evidence of who actually owns the tree. In fact, there's talk of who planted it years ago. My husband's lived here for many years, and there's talk about who originally planted it. So I think that's a key thing that we want to get to the bottom of. But I think there's some really crucial things that we've raised about the tree that have just kind of felt like they've been ignored. So we don't ask for a tree to be removed or significantly trimmed back lightly. We're nature lovers. We absolutely love trees, and we wouldn't ask for this without significant problems that we've been having on an ongoing basis, really. So I don't know if everybody's familiar, but silver birch trees are renowned for shedding, and this particular tree sheds for about 7 months of the year, quite significant shedding, which causes various problems, really. So I think one of the main ones is that the stuff basically gets in people's houses, and it blocks the drains. And we've had one of the neighbours in the winter a few months back fell, and she sprained her wrist because of the matter that's everywhere. So there's very, very significant practical issues that we've got a list of that we could show. And in fact, we got a petition together as well that we felt like that never really went anywhere. So there was lots of the neighbours signed a petition, and that never really got looked at. So also the tree significantly moves in the wind. It's very, very high, and one of the neighbours in particular, whose bungalow sits right kind of in line of it, is very concerned about that. She's raised that with us a number of times. So there's lots of practical issues. Another thing is that it's raising the tarmac up, so the tarmac is lifting and splitting the fence. Now we've already once replaced the fencing, so that needs doing again. So that's very obvious to see this photograph that we've taken that can show the state of it now. But that's obviously going to be an ongoing issue. So we've never quite got to the bottom of who will be responsible for paying for that. Do we have to keep continuing to pay for it, even though we would like the tree to either be removed or significantly something done about it? We've never got any concrete information from whoever owns the tree. Has never said this is what we'll do to help. About the drainage, our drains are constantly getting blocked, and lots of the stuff that we bring out is the matter from the tree. And so there's just lots of questions really that we've still got that haven't been answered.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for giving us that background. Mr. Watson, have you got anything to add at this stage?
No, Chairman, not in terms of the substance of that. Chairman, we do recognise that trees can shed, obviously do shed leaves and can cause some problems. You probably have read that the government are insisting now that trees are putting it into every highway, every main highway going forward. So this is going to be an issue that we're going to face. Chairman, that in itself, yes, it is an inconvenience, and I accept that. But were we to not approve TPOs and to have trees removed on the basis of sap and leaves falling, Chairman, there'd be very few TPOs that we'd make. So do accept and sympathise that it does have. Just bear with me a second, please. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just bear with me. I did you the courtesy, please bear with me a second. Chairman, we do accept that these things do happen, but you have to look at the balance. It is a significant tree. It does have significant amenity value in the locality. And Chairman, we think that would outweigh the inconvenience that trees shedding leaves, which does happen, will cause. Otherwise, Chairman, we're going to get into a situation where basically any tree near any property is going to result in a TPO not being confirmed.
Okay, thank you for that, Neil. Just so
okay, could I just respond?
Could you just listen to me? I'm afraid you've had your opportunity. I can't keep opening it up, otherwise we would end up talking about the same thing till midnight. So we've heard what.
Could I just mention one last thing then? There was just one significant thing that I didn't mention.
Go on, I'll let you do that, and then we'll move on.
Sorry, it's just that it was top of my list and I didn't say it. It was about that there's never been a professional tree surgeon or anything come out to say about to look at our concerns about the movement in the tree, but also about the root damage that it might be doing to the properties nearby. Okay,
thanks for that. So, councillors, I'll throw it over. Councillor Coburn-Price, you got your hand up, yeah?
Well, obviously, Lee Johnson is a qualified arborealist, and he has been out and looked at it, and I would give a lot of weight to that. Also, I've been at least twice, to Torden Parish Council, where this has been discussed at length. I mean, don't think this was dismissed lightly. It was discussed the whys and the wherefores, but all the parish councillors were of one accord, which is this is an important tree from a views perspective and should be retained. It is an ornament to this area. So it's really clear from Torden Parish Council that they wish to keep the tree, and it's really clear from Mr. Johnson's report that this is a tree worthy of TPOing. So I propose that we go with the officer's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foxley.
Sorry, it wouldn't go off mute. Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, obviously, I have some sympathy with the comment that's been made about the inconvenience caused by this tree, but it's the fact that trees are inconvenient. They're a natural thing. They're somewhat unpredictable. They, occasionally do things that you wouldn't want them to do. But I think that if we took the line that we should ensure that no trees are an inconvenience to any resident, then we'd end up with even fewer trees. I note that Pendle already has one of the lowest tree cover percentages in the country, and I'd hate to see Kendal end up with next to none at all. So yeah, I think that this TPO very much should be confirmed. Thank you.
Okay, so we had a proposer and a seconder for that motion. Anybody else wish to speak, or I will go to the vote? Okay, so now I'm going to assume that everybody is in favour unless I hear to the contrary. So that's fine. So that is passed, the recommendation as laid out in the report. Thank you very much for that, councillors, and thank you for those that attended to speak.
So, sorry, just before I go, who do I now speak to about those issues that are still outstanding about the payments? Like, who will help with the payment of the damage it's doing?
Mr. Watson might be able to advise you, but I would suggest you take that up with the parish council if it's on their land. But what do you recommend? Okay. What do you reckon, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, it's the landowners, Chairman. The responsibility doesn't transfer to a local authority with the TPO. It is the landowners who have responsibility for any apparatus or trees, etc., on their own land.
Yeah, so if a tree on parish council land is causing damage to your property, then that is a matter between you and the parish council. Okay?
That's fine. Okay, we'll take it back.
Sorry,
thank you.
Sorry, I can't be of more help, but that's the situation as we understand it. At least you know whose land it's on from the report as written. So you have some proof of that, if nothing else. So
yeah, anyway. That's it. Thank you for your time, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So next up, councillors.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. We have the capital programme, 14,800.
It's Lee Wilson from 179 Cotton Tree Lane.
Councilman
is now exiting.
You're on mute.
Dear.
The cry of the pandemic. You're on mute.
I was just hoping that the councillors would be in agreement if Councillor Greaves's money could be amalgamated to the waterside councillors, if that was okay.
Absolutely, I have that on my list to do. So whatever's left in his pot will go to the other two councillors in that ward, as we did with Steve Petty. So Lynn, you can make a note of that. I'd already discussed it with the secretary, so that was in hand.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, and you've got until election day to use it. So.
Well, given that, we'd like to give 4,000 to the little theatre.
Okay.
And also pay for the swing at Waterside Millennium Tree.
Right, okay, so that's the 1,246. Yeah, you're going to take care of that out of the funds, and you're giving 4,000 to the little theatre. So then they're bid.
And
sorry, say again.
We have also a bid for Essex Street Pocket Park for 10,000.
Okay. I mean, it'll be a matter for the accounts department to determine that however their organisation is, charity status, whatever, is satisfactory to transfer the money. That's not for me or for us, I don't think. But providing the accountants are happy, then yes, that's your money. You do with as you see fit. Okay. That's all noted.
Thank you.
Okay, so then, councillors, that then leaves us then from the bid from the little theatre, which originally they were asking for 15,000. That leaves 4. I would comment, and I would ask Councillor Mann to pay attention to this one. This bid is very, very weak. I wouldn't be so cruel as to say it's the back of a fag packet, to quote one of your colleagues who loves that expression, but it's pretty close to it. So I think that before this money goes over to anybody, the accounts department at Pendle will want to see some hard and fast invoices, quotes. You can't just say we want 15 grand, here's the money, off you go. There's a bit more to it, and they need to understand that. So I would flag that up with you, because this bid is very, very thin from an accounting point of view. Okay, so I would add that to any money that we give out of the funds to the Little Theatre as well, as your own. Okay, Councillor Coburn-Price. Sorry, Sarah. Lynn, yeah?
Yeah, Chairman, I just wanted to clarify that we have had proper quotes from the Little Theatre. I haven't actually submitted those because they did have a lot of detail on, but the estimates, they're asking now just for the building work because they haven't discussed what priority they want with the stage work. So the estimate for the building work, they ranged from £9,750 to £11,000.
Okay, so if we work off the higher amount, they've got 4 towards that, so that leaves 7,000 outstanding, yeah? We agree with that? Yeah, so there's still a live bid from them for 7,000. Okay, so I cut Sarah off there in midstream. So Councillor Coburn-Price.
I was going to help you by telling you some of what Lynn had just said. I would urge the Little Theatre to apply to the Cultural Recovery Fund. They would definitely get some money, and they would have had some money by now. They've had 2 shots at it. It's just filling in the forms. That's what it's there for. It's for community theatres. And us giving us money won't preclude them getting it either, because it's to replace lost income of not running shows. I mentioned at the previous meeting, which was useful because Ailsa was able to give her view, that I'd been going off on what turned out to be a wild goose chase on these mobile speed cushions, and I've been investigating them, and ultimately they turned out to be the worst thing ever, and various people from LCC told me why. But they put forward that what we could get is a kind of upgrade on those smiley face things. If you're speeding, they would give your speed, they're solar powered, and you could get the data off Bluetooth. And Jerry said at the meeting that it would be really good because we could link up if we found the people on the sort of race circuit from Laneshire Bridge to my house. Not that my house is part of it, it's just on the circuit, and in other locations where they do racing. Shaw Street is one. We could get the data that we don't have now, because when LCC pitch up, they pitch up in working hours, and usually that kind of dangerous speeding isn't happening. So it struck me that if we could buy several of these, it would be really good. And I know quite a few councillors have spoken to me informally and said, oh, that would be quite good. I'll give you £1,000. Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. So we could create a little pot for a few of these, and both from the central pot of Colne Area Committee and from individual councillors, and then we could have sort of 3 or 4 of them. They could move, perhaps. Certainly the police are very keen, and they say they would erect them and they would move them and look after them. Dorothy asked in the meeting earlier, why don't we already have these? Seemingly there are only 3 in the whole of East Lancashire, so we never get our share, or rarely get our share, to actually have them in Colne. Whereas if we bought them, we could keep them in Colne and try and tackle the problem. I don't know what other people think.
I think the chair's frozen.
He's looking very magisterial in that pose, isn't he, though?
Councillors, whilst we wait for Graham to get back on, I just wanted to confirm, I think we need to be sure about the capital programme here. and what's going from which pot where, because the bid was for £15,000. Councillor Mann said £4,000 was going to come from the Waterside pot towards the theatre. So
Right.
there's 11,000.
No, the bid
Sorry.
was for 11. It was scaled down. Lynn told us that.
Scaled down. Okay.
It was
so
scaled down
seven.
to 11, and then 4 was coming from Waterside, which left
Okay.
7 from the central pot.
Right.
Can I just interject there, because I don't understand the logic. If you have quotations that range from 9,750 to 11,000, I can't for the life of me see why you choose the 11,000. Surely the idea of competitive bids is to get the best value, and we're here proposing to base our potential grant funding on the highest value. It seems bizarre. So that was my comment. That's why I had my hand up already. So I would suggest that the figure we need to be dealing with is 9,750.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, and you know, if they have a shortfall, they'll have to find it. I mean, we're doing our best here to try and get most of that funding for them. And you know, like I say, if it's a few hundred short, then they'll have to work hard to see if they can get that.
Lynn?
Is Graham back? No.
No. Lynn, Graham's not here, so as vice chair, I'll take charge.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like that guy from Hanford Parish Council. I agree with Sarah. Let's invest in some of these Bluetooth enabled speed identifying objects, whatever you called them, Sarah, I can't remember. So I'm happy for the rest of my capital money to go on those, Lynn. So I think Sarah's already made some contact with people at the police.
I haven't copied Lynn into my emails, but I can do Lynn, and we can do maths tomorrow on individual pots. So I think all we need to decide now is the 9,800 minus 4, 5,800, and then we need to vote on that. Am I right? And then we can all do the. And I will copy everybody in when we've done all the maths and see how many we can afford and what's left. They're all 2,700, but you never know. We might get a bulk deal.
We might be able to hire them out.
Yeah. It looks like Graham has returned, but I think he's still setting up.
It's fine. I've gone onto the iPad. The computer's kicked me out, silly thing. Yeah. Go on, you carry on, Jonathan. You know what's going on.
I don't, but I'll try. So I think Sarah was summarising there, and I was hoping Lynn was sort of like jotting it down and taking note of it, and then tomorrow we'll all get together via email and agree the final sums to be expended on these speed traps.
Well, are we voting on the little theatre though? I'm guessing that we're voting on that.
Yes, can I just say I'm getting a bit confused here. Are we talking about councillors' money, or are we talking about the central area? Central.
Chairman, if I may, I think there's 14,850 in the central pot.
Right.
The bid was for 11,000, but now it's gone down to 9,750, of which 4,000 comes off from the Waterside pot. So that would mean that 5,750 will come out of the central pot, leaving 9,100 left in the central funding. the rest of the funding, from what I understand, if I'm processing this correctly, will come out of the individual ward councillors' funding. I think that's where we are, unless anyone disagrees with my comment.
Is that for the little theatre or for the speed things?
Chairman, the 9,100 which will be left in the central pot, is up to you how you allocate that. But I'm thinking that the what Councillor Coburn Price was talking about is going to be principally purchased from the council's own pot. Am I getting that correct, Councillor Coburn Price?
No, I was hopeful that we could get some cameras from the central pot, and possibly with what's left over. You know, nobody could perhaps afford a whole one, but a part of a one from somebody and a part of a one from somebody, and all together we try to buy a few, and then we possibly have more of these for Colne than the whole of East Lancashire put together. And as Dorothy says, we could take pity on the people of Nelson and let them have an occasional loan. Who knows?
At a cost, of course.
Okay, so the main one to check on is Lynn. Lynn, you tell us what you think was just been said to make sure everybody's got this right. So we start off with 14,850. We take out what the little theatre want. Less 4,000, which is coming from the councillor pot. And the balance goes towards these cameras. Is that right?
I just missed the figures you were saying there. As I understand it, you were voting on whether you allocate £5,750 from the central pot to the little theatre. You would then be left with 9,100 in the central pot, and whether you want to allocate that towards the cameras, and then if any individual councillors also want to put some extra money into the cameras.
That to me is spot on. That's exactly what I think we want to do. Does anyone disagree with that?
I don't disagree, Chairman. Just one. Will there be any revenue implications for the speed cameras? That's what we need to consider as well.
It's just a capital investment, Neil. Okay. I mean, the police are going to look after them. You know, if they break down, then they're under guarantee, I would say. You know, I mean, maybe 5 years from now, they might need repairing if that's a revenue issue. But like these bits of kit, they'd probably go in the bin. You'd buy new ones, which is capital, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. I think that would be all right. Everybody happy with that? Councillor Nixon.
Just to confirm, I'm happy for the rest of my own personal capital pot to go on these speed cameras. Okay,
so you've got that to put together then on top of that. So would you know what you've got left?
Quite a few thousand. Sarah knows. If Sarah could email me tomorrow just to confirm in writing.
3347, Jonathan.
Yes. So the rest of that money can go on the speed awareness.
Okay.
Cameras.
So can I just ask, Jonathan, that last month, I know things have changed now, but you indicated that you might put some money into the little theatre, but things have changed tonight.
Yeah, I think on the basis that they're getting quite a substantial amount from the central part, I think that's...
Yeah.
Well, you want to spread it around a bit, don't we? You know, rather than... You know, I think that was the bad old days where one organisation got 30,000 and nobody else saw anything else, did they? You know, it's that's a better way forward. Okay, then. So you've heard what's been proposed. Is anybody against that? So I'm assuming everybody's in favour unless I hear to the contrary. Okay, so that's unanimously passed then, Lynn. And for individual councillors, that now leaves you between now and election day to use that money up in whether it's revenue or capital to meet the requirements of the accounts department at Pendle. Okay, so you've still got a few weeks to use it. Okay.
Chairman, can I just ask one question for clarification?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's capital money and some people have a small amount of revenue money.
Yeah.
Obviously, and it's a question for Lynn really, obviously we can't use capital money for revenue, but if we have a small amount of revenue left, can we add it to the capital? I would think that would be permissible.
Yeah, revenue, my understanding that was given to me when we started all this, revenue you can use how you like, basically. It's pound notes in your pocket. Capital has got to be for a capital project. There can't be ongoing revenue issues.
Yeah.
So you can buy a bicycle, but you can't fix it. You need revenue to fix it. You need capital to buy it, basically.
That's fine.
But they're happy for you to use your fixing money to buy it. Okay. All right. Okay. So moving on then, traffic liaison meeting. Anybody, any issues?
It was great to see the Langroyd junction being discussed. We must watch it now and see whether it's changed. And I have to say, because I haven't been driving and my car has died, I haven't been sitting at the junction looking at it anymore and seeing all the people going through on red. But I wonder whether anybody else has done that and seen whether it's changed.
Yeah, sure. I've been using it quite recently, and it seems to be okay. But that's first thing in the morning. I mean, it's rush hour, I suppose, if you think about it, like 7:30 going to work. But as for when the traffic builds up, the problem is the traffic lights at McDonald's. If they're out of sync with the ones at the bottom of Langroyd, then this is what happens. But from what I've seen, the traffic's been quite good recently. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anybody else? No. Okay then. Moving on. Removal of trees at Hayroyd. I think we have to ask Sarah to go into a darkened room while we discuss this.
Is that done automatically, or do I have to go?
We'll trust you to switch your screen on and pretend you're not there and you're not listening. How's that? Does that meet the legal requirements?
Will somebody text me when it's over, or yeah?
Chairman, if you leave the meeting, Councillor Corbyn-Price, and then I will call you again to dial back in.
Okay, will do. All right then. Bye.
So I'll keep quiet, Lynn, until you tell me that Sarah's left.
Yes, so it looks like she's left the meeting.
Okay, so you have the report in front of you. Anybody, any comments? If not, I'll propose from the chair that it's approved. Would somebody like to second that? Councillor Nixon. Right, Councillor Foxley, yeah, fine. Unless anyone wishes to speak, I'll go to the vote. I'll assume you're all unanimously in favour unless I hear to the contrary. No, okay, so that is passed then, Lynn. That's item 12. So Councillor Coburn-Price can be readmitted. Thank you. Just give her a couple of seconds to get back. So next up is reopening of Colne Town Centre. Anissa McCladdery is going to have a chat to us. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chair.
You have the floor.
Thank you. So I did send a PowerPoint presentation out earlier, so hopefully you've all had a good nosy of that. It's just got some photographs on of the street cleaning that we've been doing. So I'm not sure if you've been out into Colne on Skipton Road and on Hartley Square, but the street cleaning has started, and it's Unique Clean that are doing that for us. I think if you might notice, it is very, very different. I think it's been really quite impactful, and I think it's really brightened up the pavements, and the chewing gum's now off the street, which is good. So let's just hope it stays that way. Highly doubtful, but we'll just keep an eye on it. So we've been doing that as part of the sort of welcome back, you know, cleaning everything up, sprucing up the town. And we've also started the big Colne clean-up. So the street cleaning is something that we're pledging to do every year and move our way through the high street. And then the big Colne clean-up is an event, well, I say event, it's something that we're doing on the 10th of April. And that's when all the shops are going to be getting involved, getting into their shops and cleaning the shop fronts. So some businesses have started to do that already, which you'll have seen on the presentation with MHD hairdressers. So they really got into the spirit, dressed up like Hilda Ogden from Coronation Street with the little rollers and pennies and marigolds, scrubbing outside the shop. And Santander Bank also got involved and did a litter pick all around the bank and sort of around the back of the bank as well. The Fresh Look of Paint got relaunched at the beginning of this year, and that's been going incredibly well. I think I've given an update before that we've got 6 confirmed, and one that's actually gone ahead, which is West Riding Hyundai, and they've had the front of one of their showrooms repainted. So it's the wall that's been repainted and the window frames. The things that I've left off there because I didn't have images for it is that the extra CCTV camera that we've approved, I'm just waiting on an installation date for that to enhance the current network that we have. And in terms of promote, we're doing a social media campaign at the moment. All the businesses are donating a prize, and we are doing a daily competition for a winner to win something from one of the businesses. And I think that pretty much wraps up what we're doing. We're coming up with lots of new ideas at the moment to sort of do throughout the rest of the year. And that's pretty much it from me. So if anybody's got any questions for me, please feel free to ask away.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillors. No? No, just like to thank you. Sorry, somebody?
Lovely.
Try again. No?
Chair?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No general comment, just to say thank you for the ongoing hard work of the bid.
Absolutely.
Thank
and
you.
everybody involved.
Yeah.
And bring on the bloody what's it called? Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let that go. I will keep you updated. That is something that we are going to be looking at, helping hospitality. But I don't want to, like we've discussed, I just don't want to confirm anything until after June, but I will definitely keep you posted.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the hard work.
Thank you.
From everybody on the committee, I think that's well done, and thank you. Let's hope everything goes as smoothly as it can.
Fingers crossed.
With no retrograde steps back into lockdowns. fingers crossed.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. So next up, item 14, Colne Youth Action Group. Councillor Coburn-Price. Yeah.
Just very briefly, first outdoor activity is the 7th of April at King George V playing field. There's an SLA in place with Burnley FC in the community. We'll be promoting that. There'll be some other outdoor events following very shortly after that, hopefully in April. Bike maintenance at the beginning of the week on either a Monday or a Tuesday, possibly in Trawden, possibly in another location in Colne. And then pending doing an SLA with Colne Town Council on the use of Alkincoats Park, a Saturday sort of team dance yourself fit session on Saturday lunchtime, late morning. So we're trying to obviously have a geographical spread. The discussions with LCC rumble on tediously, as everybody would expect. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. I'm sure Margaret is.
Councillor Lord, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to ask this question in the previous meeting, but I didn't. It's just a query. It's not a criticism or anything like that. But Sarah, you mentioned about them filling in forms with all the details. How do you get round keeping data on children?
We've invested, or we're investing in, some specialist software which Burnley FC and the community use, and it's quite often used in the care sector. It was stressed to us when we had our trip to Blackburn Youth Zone that we have to have everything. Yeah. So not just one contact for each child, two, not just daddy's address, but everything. School, health details, everything. And it's all GDPR compliant and password protected. So we appreciate that this is a very, very important plank of what we do, because if we're to apply for grants, say 2 years from now, and say little Johnny wasn't doing very well at school, but then he did football and he felt better about himself, and then he got some GCSEs, we would obviously as an organisation claim that as being part of his uptick in life. You know, he's gone to Nelson and Colne College and he's got an uptick in life, and so as we apply for grants, we have to give these sort of positive outturns. So we learned that it was very, very important, and that this isn't just a turn up type of thing, although on the 7th we'll be sort of providing the forms. You won't be able to go to SEAG events. We won't have our insurance will be invalidated if people aren't actually members.
Right. And who will manage this? I'm just interested, that's all. This data, who will manage that? Who is there? Somebody specially employed, or somebody employed that can do that? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if you're right, Dorothy. If this grows, this will become very onerous. Yeah. So, say I don't know. Say it's possible that in any given week, SEAG puts on 15 events in a week. Obviously, that will be annoying by that point. What we've got at the moment is my poor beleaguered husband and some iPads, and potentially, depending on how this grows, we've got to have a range of correct people who have enhanced DBSs to manage some of these processes. But even yesterday, people were coming forward, either who'd done this professionally or, you know, had volunteered in youth clubs. So we now have as well a little body of volunteers. I think ultimately it is true to say, and Margaret's concerned about this, it might get to a point where we need to employ, part-time perhaps, a professional manager to coordinate the whole thing. We're not at that stage yet. We're aware of it.
Yeah. Oh, right. Thank you for that, Sarah. That's excellent. I mean, when I've worked in care and with children, you know, things have changed so much, so, you know, since 5 or 6 years ago. So I was just curious. So thank you. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. All good stuff.
Anybody else? Other than to congratulate you and anybody involved in that organisation to start it from scratch, and I really hope it's a success going forward and does some good in Colne. We do need it, I'm afraid.
We're all involved. We're all involved.
Yeah, that's what I say. Everybody, is involved.
It's good. So, it's good.
Good for Colne. Good for the youngsters, I hope. Okay, Margaret.
Yeah, can I just say as well that I think, and I'm sure Sarah would agree, that we've got a really good working relationship with the police, which has really sort of come about through, you know, sort of saying to them, how can we help you with this situation in Colne at the moment with young people, you know, misbehaving, and it's been a real big issue for them. And I've seen the police working with these young people in quite a different way, and they really do have to be congratulated in the way that they've tackled these youngsters, because there's been so much bad press for them. So many people, you know, wanting to see the police be a bit more heavy-handed, but their approach has been really quite, well, it's been so positive and so engaging, and the way that they've sort of made sure that they've contributed to the whole SEAG project has been great, really, really good. And it's helped us a great deal. So, you know, I think things are looking up, and I hope we can just keep these youngsters contained and steer them in the right direction, and perhaps show them how to make omelettes with these eggs instead of throwing them at cars. Where they're getting them from, I don't know, but I can't wait to show them how to make a good scrambled egg.
Margaret, do you want to speak about your restorative justice? Because I haven't mentioned that at all.
Well, just to follow on from that, you know, the police have been they've really embraced the restorative justice approach. And we've done a few sessions with youngsters, with their parents, with a parent, sometimes both parents. Again, parents have engaged. They want the best for their children. I've been really quite positively surprised at the way parents have reacted to this and the way youngsters have spoken about their parents. It's a very different side to what we're hearing about in the media. Everything gets really it's a very negative sort of message on Facebook, and I know there's a lot of people who are very, very much they're fed up with what's going on. So am I, absolutely. I don't condone anything that's happening, but I think together this is real sort of combined working, and agencies, you know, cooperating with each other, and that's the way it's got to be, else we're not going to make any progress at all. I think this summer is going to be very, very difficult, because I think people are just going to let down the guard, and, you know, I think the police just have to continue doing their job, and it is hard for them, and it's a balancing act. But we've got some great officers at the moment who are really, you know, respecting the people in the community and really sort of wanting the best for them. So that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's really hope it makes a difference to the people that it needs to make a difference to, and I wish you all the very best with it.
Graham, can I just make a point?
Sure.
Just to say, when you're talking about Facebook, we've all read the comments on Facebook, and it's mainly about parents that don't care. Now, I've worked with some very, very difficult children, you know, for 20 or 30 years in care homes, and it's very rare that you have a parent that doesn't care. It's very rare, you know, and I just hate it when they say, oh, they don't care, they've dragged them up with this and the other. It's not like that at all. Not with most of them. It isn't. They do care. They just don't know what to do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, then, councillors. Then, with your permission, we will now exclude members of the public. I'm sorry for that. If anybody is listening, we have some confidential matters to deal with, which we're not allowed to deal with in the public forum. So I will assume all councillors are in favour of this to exclude members of the public, unless I hear to the contrary. Okay, Lynn, when you